So here's a practice test. It says right here that there's going to be questions 1 through 6. There's going to be 3 graphing questions of inequalities similar to this one, 2 points each, total of 6 points out of the 25 on the 100-point test. So number 1, it says graph the inequality, negative y plus 3 is greater than 3x plus 3. So could we graph that yet? No, it's not in standard form. So we need to get y by itself. So I'm going to have to subtract 3 and subtract 3. And that happens to cancel out. Weird, right? So what do we have left? We have negative y is greater than 3x. Now, could we graph that now? Not yet, because you still need y by itself, and that's a negative y. So you're going to have to divide by negative 1 or multiply by negative 1, divide by negative 1. So since we divided by a negative, we're going to end up with y, and what do we have to do with the inequality? That's right, flip it, make it less than, and then it becomes a negative 3x. And ladies and gentlemen, that is slope-intercept form. You might be a little weirded out because it doesn't have a b value at the end. That just means that the b value is what? 0, right? So technically, it's y equals mx plus b. You could put plus 0 if you want, right? So it's clear that the m value is negative 3 over 1 and that the b value is 0. You guys are going to have to conclude that on Friday's test. Anyhow, let's graph it. It crosses at 0, 0 because the b value is 0, so it crosses right here at the origin. Now from that point, do I go up or do I go down? Down. Why am I going down? Because the slope is negative 3. So because the slope, actually let me label it here. Here's my slope, that's your m value. And this one, the plus 0 that we added, that was the b value because it didn't have a number at the end. And that's how we know that it crosses here at 0. And I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and then over 1. You always go to the right when you run. So I'm going to put a dot right here. And then I'm going to connect the dots. But you know what? I still want to extend it this way. So I'm going to use the reverse pattern. Instead of going down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and over 1 the other way. And put a dot right there. So now my line is completely extended across the whole XY plane that they give us. I need to decide, my second step is to decide whether it's a solid line or a dotted line. So this is going to be dotted. Why? Because it does not have a solid line underneath the inequality. If for some reason this would have been greater than or equal to, if it had a solid line, then this would be a solid line. But because it does not have a solid line, this will be dotted. So I just need to put some dots. A dotted line right through those points, and there's my line. Now the question is, where are my answers at in regards to that line? In other words, my answers are either going to be on this lower left side of the line over here, or maybe my answers are on this side of the line over here. If you leave it like that, you're only going to get half credit. You still need a shade to represent your answers. So normally I would say pick the point 0, 0, right? But what's the problem with picking the point 0, 0? It's on the line, right? So what you want to do is pick a point that's not on the line. So most of the time you could use 0, 0 because 0, 0 is not on the line. But in this case, it is on the line, so we have to pick something else like 1, 1, or like 2, 1, or like 3, 4, I don't know, any point, right? I think it's easy, if 0, 0 doesn't work, I think it's easy to pick a point on the axis itself, either the x-axis or the y-axis. So give me a coordinate on the x-axis. Or on the y-axis. How about that? The y-axis. Give me a coordinate on the y-axis up here somewhere. No. Coordinate, a point. 0, 1. Okay, so let's use 0, 1. Look, 0, 1 is clearly right here. It is on the upper right side. So if the coordinate 0, 1 works, let me do this. If the coordinate 0, 1, 0 for x, y is 1. If that works, then I shade in that side. If it doesn't work, I'm going to shade in the other side. Now, I'm going to use the modified equation, this one right here that was in red. Y is less than negative 3x. I mean, I could put the negative 3x plus 0, or I could even go to the original if I wanted to and plug in 0 for x right there and 1 for y. Do you guys want to go with the original or with this one? Let's go with the original. Okay, let's go with the original. Plug in 0 for x. So right there it's going to be 3 times 0. What's 3 times 0? 0. And then plus 3. What's 0 plus 3? 3. So keep this in mind that on the right side we have a 3 and the inequality on the original is a greater than symbol. Now let's look at the left side. It says negative y plus 3. Now what is the y value we're testing? It's 1. So that's really negative 1 plus 3. What is negative 1 plus 3? Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So I really have 2 is greater than 3. What do you guys think of that? No way, right? No way. So that does not work. So where are my answers at? On the other side of that blue dot. So I'm going to shade in this other side of the line where the blue dot's not at. Why? Because the blue dot did not work. The blue dot did not work. That must mean that no points on that side work. All the points on the other side work. Now there's going to be 3 of those. So it is kind of time consuming. It is worth 6 points out of the 25 possible. So that's a huge part of the test right there. On the other ones, you will be able to use the coordinate 0, 0. There's going to be one where you can't. There's going to be 2 others that you can use a point 0, 0. Questions 7, 8, and 9 on the test is simply to write down the different forms. So what is slope-intercept? It's y equals mx plus b. What's point slope? It's y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. What's standard form? Capital AX plus capital BY equals capital C. If you put lowercase letters, I'm not going to give you full credit. The capital A, capital B, and capital C help you remember to not use fractions or decimals. You want nice integers. Okay? So that's technically questions 7, 8, and 9. Moving on to number 5, but this is going to actually be number 10 on the test itself. It says right here, write the slope-intercept form equation, that's y equals mx plus b, of the line that crosses the y-axis at 2/3 and has a slope of 4. So slope-intercept form, you need 2 things. You need the m and you need the b. If you know the m and you know the b, you're going to be able to write it in y equals mx plus b. So right here they give you the m and the b, so you're able to write it in y equals mx plus b form. What's the answer? What's the equation? Y equals y equals 4x plus 2/3. Yeah, I tried to trick you right there. Just because you see a fraction doesn't make it automatically a slope. As a matter of fact, you got to read carefully. It says the slope is 4. So the m value has to be 4 right in front of x. It says it crosses the y-axis at 2/3. That means that the b value is 2/3. Okay, so keep that in mind right there. Moving on to number 6, which is number 11 on the test. Write the slope-intercept form equation of the line passing through the coordinate -5, 3 and has a slope -4. So ladies and gentlemen, what they're giving us is a point that's x value of -5 and a y value of 3, and they also give us a slope value of -4. So which form could you easily use? Point slope form, right? Now point slope form is y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. And when you use this form, use blank spots. It'll help you. It'll help you not make mistakes. So if you plug in your values, you plug a 3 right here, your slope is -4 right there, and your x value is -5 right there. And of course, the minus minus has to change the plus plus. So that's point slope form, but notice that the instructions say write it in slope intercept form. Okay, so you don't want it in point slope, you want a slope intercept. You want y by itself. You want y equals mx plus b. So you have to change the way this looks. You're going to distribute the -4. Now when you distribute -4 times x is -4x. -4 times 5 is -20. Bring down the equal sign. You have y minus 3 on the left side. It's almost in y equals mx plus b form. All we have to do now is add 3 to both sides. So your equation is y equals -4x minus 17. And that's your slope-intercept form equation. Are you with me? Is this the only way to do it? No. You didn't have to use point slope form. Since they're asking for y equals mx plus b, you could technically use what they give you. So right here, I'm already done. I already know my answer. Check it out. This is my answer. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it over again with the alternate method, right? I have y equals mx plus b. If I wanted to, I could take the x value of -5 that they gave us, the y value of 3 that they gave us, and the m value of -4 that they gave us, and plug it all into y equals mx plus b. In other words, instead of y, I'm going to put a 3 right there. Instead of m, I'm going to put a -4, and then times x, but x is -5, and then you have the plus b at the very end. Now, this is an alternate method because this way you could find your b value. So in other words, you're going to have 3 equals positive 20 because -4 times -5 is positive 20 plus b. And now you could solve for b by subtracting 20 on both sides. And you'll have b equals -17. And now that you know your b value, and since they gave you the m value, you're going to be able to write your equation in y equals mx plus b. Y equals, your slope is -4x, and your b value is -17. So there's your equation. That's a -17 right here. Notice, guys, that it's the same exact equation. It's just done in a different way. So if you're comfortable, when you see a point and a slope, if you're comfortable with point slope form, go for it. If you're not so comfortable with point slope form, then use y equals mx plus b, plug in the x, plug in the y, plug in the m to solve for b, and then you could plug it into y equals mx plus b again. So it's totally up to you what you feel more comfortable with. Let's move on. So questions 12, 13, and 14 on the test Friday is going to be 3 different graphs. And on those 3 different graphs, I'm going to ask you to write the equation in whatever form I want to ask you. Okay, so on this one, example 7 below, it says, write the standard form of the equation of the line graph below, right here. So this line, they want us to write it in standard form. Now, maybe on one of them I asked for standard form, maybe on a different graph I asked for slope-intercept form, or maybe on a different graph I asked for point-slope form. It's totally up to the question itself. So right here I'm saying standard. So what do I see right here? Could I look at this line and see the slope? Yeah. Actually, they give us a slope. And even if they didn't give us a slope, I could still say, oh, from this point right here down to the other point right there, it goes down 3/1. So my slope really is -3. And we also see a b value, right? The b value is what? 1. The b value is 1. It crosses the y-axis at 1. So one option is to write my equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, right? Right. Now, either you could go with slope-intercept form and then change it to standard form, or you could go with point-slope form and then change it to standard form. So it's totally up to you, right? So what form are you going to use? Point-slope? I would actually go with slope-intercept. Slope-intercept's easier because you could see the m and you could see the b. So what's your slope-intercept form equation? Y equals -3x plus 1. And now if you want it in standard form, what do you have to do? Move the x to the other side, and you're going to have 3x plus y equals 1, and that's your standard form equation, and you're done. You got it? So there's going to be 3 of these guys. So one is going to be, change it to standard form. We did that. That's great. Another one, I'm going to give you a different graph. It's not going to be the same graph, but I'm going to give you a different graph, and I say, write the equation in slope-intercept form. Well, that's easy. What's the equation of this one in slope-intercept form? We actually started with that, y equals -3x plus 1, right? And then another graph, I'll ask you to write your point-slope form equation. So if I did ask for point-slope form, we have a point right here given to us. This point is x1, y1, and we do have a slope given to us. So the point-slope form equation would be y minus y1. And what is y1? According to this point they give us, 4 equals m. What's the slope they give us? -3, parenthesis, x minus x1. What's the x1 value they give us? -1. So the minus minus changes to plus plus. So if they did ask for point slope form, this would be your point slope form equation. So you're going to get 3 graphs. You're going to have to answer each one according to whatever they ask for. They ask for slope intercept, then you're going to write the slope intercept form. They ask for standard form, you're going to have to modify it to standard. They ask for a point slope, and so on and so on. So those are questions 12, 13, and 14 on the test. We're halfway through the test. The other half of the test, this is a big one, questions 15, 16, 17, and 18, they all come from giving you 2 points and telling you that a line passes right through those 2 points. You know what though? I'm going to break this up into 2 videos. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to pick up the second video on the second part of the review.